It was 2012. We had went out and we had started to win a lot. We had already won the Orska Championship. We had already won the Radial Tire Championship. Already won the PURS Championship. Bunch of championships, bunch of races. It's pretty well known. We went out to the last race of the year and got smashed. And I had the best car there. I had the fastest car there. We continued to have mechanical problems. Stuff kept falling off. And we got beat. Now, it was one of them deals where there's not a lot of times in drag racing where you show up to the race and you know you have the car to destroy the field, but that was one of them times. Like, we're relaxed and everything. Thing goes out there and we get smashed. Everybody else puts their stuff up. All my guys, my friends. Back then there was no employees. It was just a bunch of buddies. But they're like wore out. And they're like, man, we're ready for the off season. And it's late November. I call up my buddy Mike Merrick and I tell him I want to go test it in Mississippi, which is like 8 hours down the road. And Mike tells me, first he's like, you're insane. You're crazy. We're not doing this. This is stupid. There's nothing else to race this year. Like, why do you want to go waste a bunch of money and drive 8 hours to go do this? This is like 8 o'clock at night. I was like, because I want to get ready for next year. I want to go out there and see if we can, there's some stuff I want to try, some new stuff. I got some ideas, and I want to go out there and run next year. Back then, the drag radio record was like a 426, 422, I forget. So I talk him into it. Me and Mike pile up in my F350 with a 38-foot stacker trailer hook behind it. Looked like a tick on a water buffalo. Drag that thing through the middle of the night all the way to Holly Springs, Mississippi. We get there the next day. It is cold. Wind's blowing. It's miserable. Take that thing out there. First run, we go 426. I'm like, oh, we got a hot rod. Second run, it goes 425. Then we go out there because I had my cowboy hat on. We knocked the tires off 3 times in a row. Spin the tires, spin the tires, spin the tires. The sun's going down, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It's as vivid as any movie I've ever seen. The sun's going down. Jabbo, the track operator at the time, comes up. He said, you got time for one more. You got to hurry. We're over there. We changed torque converters in that thing. Mike Merritt tells me, he says, you got one shot at this. It's the end of the year. I'm not coming back racing with you no more until next year. It's warmer. He said, I want you to load the kitchen sink in it. And I did, and it stuck. Thing left the starting line. I won a 419. That was the drag radio record at the time, first one in the teens. And although it was in testing and wasn't an official record, that particular decision to go do that springboarded the rest of my career. There's been a lot of those that have happened like that. Because of that, the following week I got a call from Qatar. The Sheikha Qatar was they had started a new Super Street V8 class in the Middle East. He wanted the fastest drag radio car in the world, and I had it. And it's one of them deals. If I hadn't have done that, we hadn't have go there, hadn't had the fastest car in the world, would have never got this phone call. The path could have just went different. So don't ever be scared to follow your gut. I followed my gut my whole life, and this led me in some bad decisions, but more good than bad. So they buy this thing, and they get over there, and they look at this thing, and they're like, we can't drive this thing. So they bring me over there to drive it, and drag radio racing in the Middle East wasn't what it is now then, and we just destroyed the field by like 3/10. We won every race in the championship, and we did so good that Sheik gave me an opportunity to drive a Pro Mod. I see all these Pro Mods sitting around the shop, and I mean, I'm in the shop. I had never been around Pro Mod racing before, and I'm sitting over there, and you got the likes of Frank Manzo and Vaughn Smith and Howard Moon and Shannon Jenkins and Mike Castellana and Ricky Smith, and all these guys are in one spot Pro Mod racing. And I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome. I mean, these things are fast. And I'd go watch all the Pro Mods run, and my class would be in the lanes, and I'd have to sprint back and get my car and drag up there. But Sheik finally basically came up to me after we won enough races and said, I got a car that nobody can get down a racetrack. It's got like 3,000 runs on it. Everybody's worked on it in the world. It's a bad car. And I said, well, if you'll let me and Billy, I had known Billy Stocklin racing against him, but we had never like hung out, never spent any time together, didn't talk on the phone. But I saw Billy was over there tuning Alex Hostler's car with Frank Manzo. That thing was fast. It run 350s. And me and Billy had kind of got to know each other and kind of clicked right away. I told KH Sheik Khaled, I said, if you give me the opportunity to drive this car, if you let me put it together with Billy, I want to run a car in the States. He said, well, if you go fast enough and show me what it'll run, we'll go state ride. I said, I need a number. I need you to tell me what number I need to run. And he said, 379. If it goes 370 anything, you got a full-time deal in the States. So I'm like a kid on Christmas, buddy. We go in there, we drag that thing out, we get the hacksaw out and start cutting crap off that car. We didn't have any, I had no idea how to run a nitrous motor. Not a big nitrous motor. I had to run a lot of 5-inch motors and stuff like that, but this thing had a 5300 and it had a carbureted 855 that they had over there. And I had no idea how to do that. Billy had some nitrous racing experience. So he's trying to teach me like how to run the nitrous on the motor. And I'm telling him, I'm like, the only way this is going to do this is we got to get lighter. We got to cut it off. So I went on a 2-week, didn't eat anything. We cut everything off that car that it didn't physically need to go down the racetrack. When I tell you it was obscene, I'm talking about we sawed the bung for the heater out of the rear end housing, and welded it up because it saved a quarter of a pound. We sawed the jack stand mounts off the car. We made everything out of, they had some titanium tubing over there. We made stuff out of tie that I'm pretty sure it ended up heavier than what it would have been if we hadn't made it out of tie. We get that thing out there, race ready that car. I could race ready that car with meat in it with 2 fireballs at 2,180 pounds. And that's light for a pro nitro car. We were one of the first ones to experiment with lockup torque converter. We put a lockup in that thing. Finally, the last race of the year, we go 379. I'll never forget it. Sheik's waiting for me on the top end with a contract. It was so hard to get it to run 70s. It had been 380s 50 times, and we could not get it to do it. I was naked under my fire suit. I had decided to completely, the only way I could get more weight out of it, I was like, all right, if you weigh your clothes, they weigh about 3 pounds. I was like, all right, I'm taking all my clothes off. So we're in Sheik's truck after we do that, and he's like, let's go get some dinner. And I was like, well, we can't go get dinner. I was like, I have to wear like this. So kind of a funny story. My guys still bust my balls about me driving naked, but I'll do whatever it takes, and that's kind of been the mantra of my career. So anyways, me and Billy, we're a team. We hit it off, and we're going pro nitrous racing, and everybody's laughing at us. We're going to go run 80RL. 80RL was huge at the time, and it was the premier door car series, and me and Billy are going to show up with an old wore out car with no parts and run with them, and we knew we were going to get killed, but we showed up, qualified number 1 in Rockingham, won the race, won 3 races that year, and won a championship. And that put our mark as to that we're serious about door car racing. Me and Billy are a very unique team, the hardest to find that it is. Billy's the smartest man that I know with power management. And I'm really good at setting up the car. So with him tuning it, me setting it up and driving it, you're going to have a hard time to beat us. I mean, we get crushed. Most of the time it's our own stupid fault, but we win more than we lose. And as long as I can race, Billy Stockland could tune anything from a fuel car to a wheelbarrow. So if anything in the world that he puts his mind to, he can tune it. And I learned a lot from him, in tuning this. Throughout all this, there's been so many people that have been behind me and beside me that have pushed me down this path. Little did I know, but this whole time Phil Schuler is pushing all this stuff. He's making calls here and there, and he's kind of been behind the scenes, opening doors for me my whole life. I met Phil in the late 2000s, and I started driving his car. Back then it was the Frankenstein. The Frankenstein ended up actually being Shadow 1.0 after we crashed. I think I crashed it and caught on fire a couple times. We ended up making a radial tire car, but Phil Schuler was behind me and Billy Stockland. Phil Schuler was behind the sheet calling about the orange car, and we started out as just me driving his race car. We've ended up friends. I mean, I'd take a bullet for Phil, and he'd take a bullet for me. One of the few people that you meet in your life that you can trust like that. So me and Phil, and I call him Phil Billy, me and Phil Billy and Billy kind of plowed down this pro mod road, and we get as good as we did in 2013 and 2014, like in all forms of motorsports, I get fired. So we did good. They had some budgetary problems over there. We get fired, and here I am without a job. So We've been grudge racing a bunch in Texas and all over the world. Met a guy named Jeff Sitton, SEI Oilfield, now a partner and a good friend of mine. We were fast enough with the Shadow. Back then, I think it was the Shadow. I think we had either renamed it, got it, cut it, hacked it, something. Shadow 1.0 was born. The only people that would race this, we had a 5-300 nitro motor, that thing with a lockup, and it was fast. The only people that would race this was Jeff. And Jeff was out of Texas. He had somebody running his car, and me and Phil and Billy were working on the Shadow, and we followed each other around the country for a long time grudge racing, and it was awesome. I mean, that was a lot of fun. We raced in South Carolina, we raced in Texas, we raced in Mississippi, we raced everywhere, and I developed a respect for Jeff because of his tenacity to crush me. Most everybody else just gave up. I mean, in grudge racing, it gets tough to get races when you're at the top. And Jeff wouldn't give up, and it was fun. That year of grudge racing against Jeff and those guys was one of the most fun years I've had racing. Eventually, that grudge racing partnership, two guys that want to kill each other for money, turns into Jeff calls me and wants me to tune his car. So I was like, okay. I said, well, you get me, you got to get Billy. You know, we're a team. So he did. Me and Billy actually ended up working on Jeff's car, the Hyde car, and that turned into a sponsorship to run PDRA in 2015, which was awesome. So me and Billy are back together again. We're racing and having a good time, and we did good. I think we finished second or third in points that year. You know, had a good year. It was a good learning year. My first year of kind of full-time racing without unlimited funding, without really good funding, and we learned how to do a lot with a little again, and did good. At the end of that year, the oil market crashed, and once again in December, I'm fired again. It seems like every December I get fired. So there's 2 days I think left in this year, and we'll try to not get fired this year. But 2016, I decided I'm gonna run that deal out of my own pocket. Couldn't find a sponsor, couldn't find any help. So 2016, I ran PDRA Pro Nitrous and ran it out of my own pocket and absolutely realized how much it cost to run all these things. It about bankrupted me. We won a little bit. I think we finished second or third in points. And we had a good year. We set a bunch of records. Ended up crashing Shadow 1.0 at the end of the year. It was kind of a rough year. But learned a lot. It birthed the Shadow 2.0. And it birthed the Bahrain 1 deal, which is what we have now. Khaled Al-Balushi, my longtime buddy and teammate, met him back in 2012 when we were in the Middle East, was kind of pushing the Bahrain 1 deal, and Phil Schuler's kind of pushing the Bahrain 1 deal. I get a call from Sheikh Abdullah and wants me to come over and talk about racing. They'd been drag racing for a long time, years past, and they had quit for 8 or 9 years. And was interested in getting back in it, and my name came up. Go out there and talk to him, and he's an awesome guy. I mean, loves motorsports, passionate about it. Says he wants to go NHRA racing, which has always been a dream of mine. Everybody knows that I want to race top fuel cars. I was like, all right. I was like, well, they got fuel cars over there, so we'll go do it if you want to do it. I said, but you got to hire Billy. So me and Billy are back a team again. We started NHRA. We ordered, it's just like everything. If it weren't for the last minute, nothing would get done. So we ordered this car, and it comes in, I don't know, like a week before Gainesville. Previously, we went to the Middle East and raced in Bahrain. I had a roots blower on a car that they had over there that was 10 years old. This is last winter. And ended up setting the Pro Mod World record, winning 4 out of 5 races, won the Arabian Drag Racing Championship, Bahrain Drag Racing Championship, won the whole deal in the Middle East, both championships. And I think we didn't even go to a couple races in Qatar, so we dominated. Me and blowers and pro mods fit together like chocolate and peanut butter. I mean, I understand it, and they're fun to run, and they're loud. They're not silly like turbo cars and stuff are. They got power. So we get our car a week before Gainesville and blaze out there, and I think pro mod racing in NHRA is easy. We qualified number 1. I was like, we'd only made 4 runs on the car before we got to Gainesville. So we go up there and qualify number 1, and I'm like, this is easy, man. This is no problem here. Transmission blows up first run. We get crushed in the first round. So I'm like, all right, we'll get him in Houston. I go to Houston in D&Q. That's the lowest of lows, man. When you put in the same amount of work to suck at racing is what you do to win. At least we do. I mean, we killed ourselves getting ready for Houston, go up there ready to make a good showing, and DNQ'd the race, never got on the track. And that humbled me right away. I was like, all right, this is why this is hard. This is why only the cream of the crop are over here running NHRA, is because it's hard. So we went back, we punted, we went to work, and we ended up having an awesome year. Went to 4 final rounds, won 2 races, named Rookie of the Year, finished 3rd in points our first season, and it has been a blast. This is the hardest I've worked and the most rewarding I've had in racing in my career, and I cannot wait for 2018. We ended the deal on a good note with a win in Las Vegas. This year we set the drag radio record a couple of times with the Shadow. We've won pretty much everything you can run at this year that we've run. We won the Snowbirds, and it's been a good building year. The first year of any deal is the hardest. You got to put it all together, get all the people working, get all the people to get along, get all the right parts. And this was our growing year. We are set up next year. I hope this time, if I'm talking to y'all next year, I got the big trophy. So our goal next year is to win NHRA Pro Mod World Championship. And I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can to get that done. I mean, it's been a dream of mine to race in NHRA. Seeing the scale of it, it reminds me of what Orska was in 2000s. I mean, it's huge. Cannot get where I'm at without a long list of people. I won't name them all because I'd forget somebody. But I have a tremendous group of guys around me. I have a tremendous group of sponsors around me. I have sponsors that are behind us, that have been behind us since day one. There's been times where I could not run their product because of a deal with somebody else. And they're like, we're with you no matter what. When you get where you can run our stuff, we're still behind you. And when you have people behind you like that, it makes it easier to succeed. People know when you put your name on the side of my car, you're going to get all of me. I'm going to do everything I can do to win at all costs. And the biggest thing is we're still having fun out here. I love this stuff, and I'm going to do it as long as I can possibly do it. I'm going to race. I'm sure I left a lot of stuff out. I'm sure most of you are bored listening to me talk, but I appreciate it. And we're going to start doing kind of a regular deal with this, so you'll get to hear me blather on a little more.